All right, we're going to call up our next pitch contestant, George Castendijk from Three Notched Brewing. George, there you go.
Good afternoon. My name is George Castendijk. I'm the CEO and founder of Three Notched Brewing Company. We're an award-winning brewery out of Charlottesville, Virginia. The beer you're drinking today is our Hydraulian Red Ale, which is a GABF award winner from last year's competition. We opened about 20 months ago, 2,500 barrels in production in 2014. We're on pace for about 7,000 this year. That'll put us at about a 9,000 barrel run rate by the end of the year. Our branding foundation for this, for Three Notched, is built on historical events that took place along Three Notched Road in Virginia, and these historical events actually have significance on our nation's founding. So the genesis of the brand is really to create a hyper-local Virginia beer and brand that has roots that can evolve into a broader national appeal. We put a lot of emphasis on hiring the best staff. Our first hire was an award-winning brewer from Rock Bottom. It's a fairly popular way to go nowadays, and he's a nationally recognized brewer. So how did we get here? This is where I think we've got a very unique strategy. We deploy tap rooms to build brand awareness and to innovate our beer culture and our brand portfolio. We have two tap rooms in Central Virginia. We've brewed about 110 different styles over those since we started. We're rolling out 5 additional in the state, and the whole hypothesis around that is our local presence actually increases the SKU velocity at the retail level. We also couldn't determine a distribution company that we wanted to partner with in Virginia in the beginning, and it was really easier for us just to start our own distribution company. So nobody else could sell our beer as well as we did, so we decided to kick that off. We've opened 4 fulfillment centers across the state, and that's growing. And then we started building relationships with some large big box retailers, and you can see some of those on this slide. So where are we going? Short-term focus is to build a world-class team. One thing that I'm very keen on in this industry is finding experienced people with craft beer, large craft beer experience, and that are A-plus players. We want to complete our taproom builds, and then we want to find the right distribution partner to invest in us and steward our brand like we think it should be stewarded and like we would do it. It remains to be seen if we're going to be able to pull that off, and we may just self-distribute for a long time. Long-term focus, we want to take the same model to Maryland and to North Carolina. We want to focus on trying to evolve our brand into a regional form so that we can continue to grow. And then we want to find the right funding partner to help us build a very large-scale production brewery somewhere in the Southeast. So that's it in a nutshell, and I look forward to your questions.
Good job, George. Get the mic right there. So what do you guys think of the beer? Let's start there this time. Do I have to pick the bad student in the class? All right, Michael.
I think it's a competent red ale. I mean, I think it's on style. I get a little bit more of those kind of like sharper, kind of spicy notes out of it. Yeah. Nothing that really jumps out of it.
Sure. And in terms of just the branding in general, still seems pretty early stage. So, how do you guys see this evolving, Doug? Where would you see Three Notch evolving to in the future?
I think on the product packaging, I think similar comments to what we had in the last time, that the brewery's brand is not highly prevalent. In fact, if you're using PackTech or something like that, there's only one angle at which you could possibly get the brewery's brand the way that you've done your packaging. So I think there's some opportunity to upgrade that.
Yeah, we're working on that right now. I think we're going to move into a packaged form where we get away from PackTech so we can present the brand a little better. A lot of the idea around the branding is to tell stories behind each specific beer rather than a story about the brewery itself. So we try to play with some depth within the beer names.
I thought the hyper-local thing and those stories were kind of interesting, and it ties back into the three-notch road, like you said. I think each illustration being as complex as it is on a one-color design
Yeah.
becomes really challenging.
Very,
right?
very difficult.
You actually have an icon on the back of like these three stripes, which remind me of a flag, right? Being torn or a little bit.
Actually, Three Notch Road is a historical thoroughfare in Virginia, and the way that the community actually marked the road was three notches on trees. So,
'Cause to me, that was maybe visually the most compelling element. As simple as it is, it jumped out at me as something that was important.
and that's exactly where we want to take things. So we're trying to figure out the appropriate direction to be able to showcase that.
In terms of the name itself, Three Notched, Notch is an interesting name. In our backyard, there's a Notch Brewing in Boston, and Uinta had the Hop Notch, which they had to change to Hop Notch. So we've seen a little bit of an difficult time there.
We know Chris well.
So you guys obviously probably struggle with this so much at CBA, trying to come up with creative names for brands. Do you see this being a problem going forward?
It's a problem. It'll be a problem for you guys, just like it's a problem for everyone else.
Yeah.
There are 3,400 breweries producing 40 beers a year, so it's going to be an issue. So I think that understanding the story behind it will be ultimately the most important part, and making sure that the story is ownable too, because I think that each of the ones that we saw are really great stories, and they actually tie back to your sense of place, but it's not communicated very well. So let that be more ownable and something that someone else can just take and run with, just like they could your name.
Yep. Well, we're definitely working on that. So.
Yeah.
Right. And in terms of packages, Pat, do you want to see more cans in your store? How are sales going on the can side of things? And is this a strategy going forward where we see a lot of breweries just going can exclusive? Is this going to be a strategy going forward where cans are can actually carry a brand long term?
We're going to see it more and more. We're obviously still a bottle market, at least here we are. There's a lot of consumer education involved with that, and that's all it takes, really. Talk about the packaging choice on your brand. If you're going to put beer in a can, talk about, hey, we put beer in a can because this is better for the beer for these couple quick, simple reasons.
Mm-hmm. And the way that we distribute now is can exclusively. We're going to be evolving into a seasonal lineup that's more on the 22-ounce level, and that'll be happening actually next week. So we're going to mix and match there, and it remains to be seen how we decide to evolve the branding strategy from can potentially even into full-time bottles. So that may happen.
Just to counter that slightly, I think you're right. Right now we're in this transitional market where people want to know why cans. I don't think it's going to last forever. And right now, as a startup, you've got so many stories you have to tell. That's probably not a priority.
Yeah.
So I would balance that against all the other things that you need to communicate to the customer.
I think at the end of the day, this is where we get our direction. We focus on home and we focus on our consumer. Whenever we get confused, we try to figure out what we do best at home. And if we're told or messaged that we need to move into the bottle market, then that's not something that we're going to not listen to. So.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time.
Great, appreciate it.
Cheers.